gentlemen, podcasting since 2005. You're listening to Gamertag Radio with your hosts, podcaster Hall of Famer Danny Peña, the always opinionated Paris Lily, and from outside of the norm, Peter Toledo. This is Gamertag Radio.
Welcome to Gamertag Radio, episode 1230. This is your host, Danny Peña, and also joining me on this episode is Peter Toledo. What's up, Pete?
Yo, what's up, Danny?
Good, man. Paris is not going to be joining us because today is his birthday. So shout out to Paris. Happy birthday to him. Make sure to hit him up on Twitter and give him a shout out, So he's going to be busy doing his own thing today. But we have a couple of topics here that we're going to be talking about here, man. But Pete, it's been a while. How you been?
Oh man, I can't remember the last time I've been on the show. When was the last time? I mean,
I think it was 2 weeks ago with Paris.
That's right. We did the NVIDIA RTX 4090 and DLSS 3 review.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Yeah, it's been good, but it's been a minute since I've been on with you, so it's good to have you on.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, the last week's episode I recorded with my other team. From my former team from G4 X-Play, great conversation. Mm-hmm. For those that haven't listened to it, highly recommend it for you guys to go listen to that episode, man. It was really cool, man. And there's a couple of stuff that I just received a couple of days ago. It's like unreleased content. I have to figure out if it's okay for me to release or not. I think people are gonna be really surprised with the stuff that I have. That it will be great for the podcast, basically. So, from stuff that I worked on the next place. So stay tuned for that. A couple of things too, P, because I didn't put it here in the topics, but I have the SEGA Genesis Mini 2. I want to talk to you about it a little bit. I'm a huge SEGA Genesis fan and Super Nintendo, of course. So Sega sent me the console, so it has over 60 games, and I can tell you some of the games that I already tried out. I was playing it on Friday night for hours playing that, and I went way back with some of the Genesis games and Sega CD games. So we'll talk about that in a few minutes.
Very interesting.
And and this conversation about Phil Spencer, Wall Street Journal, that happened a couple of days ago. I want to have a conversation about this with you because I'm very curious to hear like your thoughts. We have fan mail, of course, so that's gonna be a lot of fun. We have a couple emails and voicemails here, and I think Mario Rabbids. Do you want to talk about Mario Rabbids too, or you're muted, Pete? You're muted.
We can definitely talk about Mario Rabbids.
He
never
hasn't
stops.
done this in a while.
Yeah, man, I'm out of shape, man.
It's all good. So yeah, let's do this. But first, head over to gamertagradio.com. Listen to our past episodes. Make sure to share the content and let people know about GTR. Come on, guys. We have over 12,000 episodes. 12,000. That's what is it? 12,000? 100. Sorry, my math is ridiculous.
12,000.
Sorry. 1,200. 1,200. Go right now. Listen to our past episodes. We have great content there. By the way, I have a couple surprises. Hopefully, if everything goes through, I'm going to go all in. I have some cool stuff coming up for the show. So fingers crossed on that. Send some positive vibes. Hopefully it goes through and everything. But go over there, listen to it, share it. Also, you can find us on any podcast app. Just go to Gamertag Radio. Just search for us, follow us, subscribe, and also post a review. Very important. Post your review. All right. If you would like to be part of our family discussion, here's how you could contact us.
Send us your feedback or questions. Give us a call at 786-273-7GTR. Email us at fanmail@gamertagradio.com or leave a message on speakpipe.com/gamertagradio.
All right, Pete. So let's talk about this Phil Spencer Wall Street Journal discussion. there was a lot that he was talking talked about with Wall Street Journal, but the part where I think it is important for us to talk about, and I'm gonna put it up here. Let me see if I can find it very quick. It's about eventually either the hardware or the subscription service, the price is going to go up. Not this year, maybe next year. Now, my question to you, is this going to be a hardware thing? Is only going to be one console maybe, or both? It's going to be the Xbox Game Pass, or maybe just games. Maybe they'll go up in price. And just want to hear your thoughts about it, and we'll go from there.
I mean, I've been the person on the show that has always been okay with systems or publishers or developers raising prices. I know I'm probably going to get flamed for this comment.
Yes.
But I don't care. Whatever, I'll deal with it. I'll live with it. Mm-hmm. Budgets for video games for the past 25 years have increased 500 times, while the price of games has only just recently started to creep up from the last major jump, which was from $50 to $60 US. But when you start looking at the overall cost of things, not just inflation, but just in general, whether now you've got almost every game has somewhat of an online component, whether it's server infrastructure, whether it's network bandwidth, whether it's cloud, and then you have components of trying to deal with the human aspect of game development, right? We've seen a massive view on the concept of crunch in the game development space over the last year and a half, right? Where it's articles from certain individuals in certain publications, et cetera, to some of even our favorite developers are now getting or feeling the heat from customers and from fellow employees or fellow workers in the game industry about crunch. And how do you offset the concept of crunch in work? You delay the game. You have to pay people more because you have to, you're not able to compress the schedule of game development into a specific window. So in order to do that, you have to now expand it, causing higher pricing or higher costs from the back end or operational side. So all of that at some point has to trickle down in some way or shape down to the consumer. We can't expect, as it was back 20, 30 years ago when it was $39.99 was customary for a video game. It's not like that anymore. Even now where, $69.99 was, everybody was, up in arms with pitchforks and so on. So at some point, I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing $69, $79, $89.99 for a video game, because at some point you have to cover your costs, right? When you've got budgets for games that are anywhere from, 350 to 400 million, 500 million, when you talk massive AAA games like Call of Duty or Battlefield, games like that, the budgets for those are insane because there's a higher expectation. You've got to pay for development costs. Games like Cyberpunk, 2077, you've got to support studios around the world. Ubisoft and companies like that, where they've got what's considered a follow the sun development cycle, where people are developing it around the world and there's constant development. You have to pay those people. You got to pay those people what their market worth is as developers and ensure and retain them. And you do that by, whether it's offering more pay, et cetera. So at some point you have to start paying, you as the consumer have to start paying for some of these goods and services that you're receiving. That said, and I understand it as a consumer, yeah, I'd much rather pay the lower fixed cost for it. I'd much rather, if in an ideal world, I'd much rather pay $40 US versus $60 or $70 US. But that's part of being the consumer and ensuring that you're paying for your product. Now, has it gotten to the point where maybe last year I would have paid less for more games and gone quantity over quality, possibly. But now with prices getting to that 80, $70 to $80 perceived value, now you start, now the older mindset starts to jump in and be like, okay, well, wait a minute. Do I go out and buy those constant 6 or 7 games? Do I go out and constantly buy my Call of Duty every year because I need to ensure that I'm always playing the latest and greatest? Look at every, if gaming I think gaming at this point is starting to follow the mobile device or the mobile phone strategy, where the customer, the consumer, is going to constantly pay that upgraded cost because they want to have the latest and greatest. Think of folks with the latest iPhone 14 or the latest, Galaxy Flip 5 or whichever version they're on. They want the latest hardware, so they're going to run out and pay for the latest and greatest. And it's okay because you're getting the value. At the end of the day, if I pay $70 for a game, but I drop 100, 150, 200 hours on it, my personal opinion, I've gotten well over the return on investment on a product like that. But when you start going into a game that maybe doesn't perform as well and you've dropped that same $60, $70, $80, all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute. Your return on investment kind of, you lose out on that. That's when you start to pull in Games Pass, where, okay, well, if I pay $10, $12, $15, $20 a month, even at $20 a month or $25, right? You still come out on top because you're getting 5 to 6 or more first party releases on top of that introduction of newer games, as well as that massive back catalog of games. So at some point, that's when people start doing do I go out to the movies 2 or 3 times a year and just pay for Netflix or Amazon Prime, et cetera, and consume my media that way? It's the same concept. Maybe I'll buy 1 or 2 games as opposed to 5 or 6 games, but just make sure that the games that I buy are really, really, the ones that do it for me. And I think that's when opportunities like I said, a subscription model of Game Pass or PlayStation, Plus gives you that perceived value of return on investment. I don't know. What do you think?
I agree. I see what you're saying. I kind of agree with you. I think if you go back to like the 90s, all the games from the Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, Genesis era, like around there, that were all $70 because of the cartridges. I think that where things changed around during that time was when PlayStation, the first PlayStation system, once that came out, all the games were cheaper because now it was in CDs, way cheaper than the cartridge, easy to make and everything through there, right? So that's what everybody got super excited, like, oh man, we paid for cheaper games and better system, all that stuff, right? So but now people thinking going back to $70 is like a new thing, and that's been happening since like the late 90s, with cartridges and everything. And there's more stuff now, more content now than back then, and still people were with pitchforks and all that. But anyways, so I just want to say that from that side. I think if Microsoft is planning to raise the price, let's say the games, keep the subscription service price the same, raise the price for the game, and not raise the price for the hardware, in my opinion. Or they could do it like this: keep the Xbox Series S cheap at the same price right now, right? Maybe raise the price for the Series X, because I think there's more people that has purchased the Series S more than the X because of the price. If you really want to still be competitive, with Nintendo and Sony, have it like that, and maybe keep the price the same of the game, Pete. I mean, we'll see. I think by raising just everything, I think it doesn't look good. But if it's just like 1 or 2 things, I think that will be okay, in my opinion. It all depends what it is and how they're going to start promoting it. Is it going to be only outside of the States? Is it going to be the States? Is it going to be everything? It's similar to what PlayStation did.
Yeah, what Sony did earlier this year with PlayStation pricing.
Yeah, because it's not the States. It's everything else, consoles outside of the States that everything went up, and the games, some of the games now is going to be up. If it's a PS5, it's $70. PlayStation 4 is just $60, $59.99, so it really depends. And at the end of the day, inflation just sucks right now with everything. It's like, think of it like this for those who are listening to this. Think about this. Like, let's say Florida. You work in Florida. Minimum wage is still the same for years. It hasn't changed, but the cost of living over there has been going up. So how are you gonna keep that balance of people that have been working hard back then? Are they gonna have two jobs because of that? You know what I'm saying? So I think it is right to pay more money raise the wage for like the developers and people that have been marketing the game, PR, everything, right? And yeah, just because right now everything is more expensive, man. Because if you think about it too, Pete, the amount of people that have to work on a project, like let's say Call of Duty, which we're hopefully gonna talk about in the future, but the new Call of Duty, there's a lot of people that worked on that game, man. It's a lot of people, of people.
You got to pay them. You got to pay them.
Yeah.
You have to pay them a working wage, and you have to keep that wage competitive. So how do you keep that? How do you keep top talent? You pay them more to retain them, right? So if you look at pricing for games, you go back to like the Atari 2600, right? It was like $40 for our parents, you and I, to buy, whether it was a ColecoVision, Intellivision, or 2600.
Yeah. And
then as you start to ramp up into the 80s, when Nintendo came into play, it jumped $5, $45 for an NES. SEGA Genesis bumped it up to $50, and then Super Nintendo came in and bumped it to $60. And then if you look at the trend after that, whether it was the Jaguar, PlayStation, Nintendo 64, Dreamcast, PlayStation 2, the first Xbox, prices were flat at $50. Right, $49.99.
And that was from what year?
From like the 1990 to 2000. Actually, to 2005. So for 15 years, we sat at a $50 flat plane of cost for video games. All that time, budgets jumping up, but at the same time, prices for video games kept the same, right? Regardless of platform, regardless of whether it came on a cartridge or a disc, etc., you didn't have the concept of the internet that allowed people to maybe purchase digital, right? But we're not even there yet. So from 2005, with the launch of the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3, prices jumped to $59.99. So $10 hike, boom, right there. Mm-hmm. With the exception of the Wii, which kept prices at $50, $49.99 in 2006. But then after that, 5-6 years later, when the Wii U jumped up, they set the standard at $60, or they joined Sony and Microsoft with $60 as the standard for cost from 2012 all the way down to 2017 with the launch of the Switch. Then in 2020, Xbox and PlayStation decided $70. So we're going to jump the price up another $10 to help offset. Now think about all the games that have launched in the last 2 or 3 years. That extra $10 per title, per purchase, is going towards offsetting the cost of these rising budgets, which keep rising year over year. So whether they're offsetting it or somewhat mitigating it, I'm my Google foo is not strong enough to identify that yet. But at some point, those prices need to jump up to accommodate these rising budgets for costs. So it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And at that point, like I said, consumers need to start sitting back and saying, okay, well, do I need to go out and is the new Battlefield worth buying over the new Call of Duty or the new Destiny or the new et cetera? Because these constant prices or these constant price hikes at some time, in some cases, they're not validating the value of these games. And that's, again, there's always going to be a certain, few from each genre or from each player base that has a specific, like Paris's are always going to gravitate towards the Destinies. I'm always going to gravitate towards FPSs in general, but I'm a little, because of the massive dearth of options that I have in the FPS space, I'm always going to have I have a choice at this point. So I can say, I can pick and choose. Do I want to jump on the new Modern Warfare? Maybe I sit back and wait a week or two. Okay, fine. I'm not going to be as up to date as everybody else, but it gives me a week or two to make a more informed decision. And I think we're getting to the point where consumers have, we all have the internet, right? So we're all a lot more in tuned with things as we were 20, 30, 40 years ago with the launch of these newer titles. So we don't have to make that jump like you and I did with the Ouya, back in the day. And let's drop $100 easy. I'm in $100, no problem. And it flopped, right?
And it flopped big time. That was not a great decision. But here's the thing. But here's the thing. Of course. But here's the thing. Nowadays, we're more educated. We're more like, there's ways to find out like if the game is worth it or not. We could talk to our friends. We could talk to the community. Go to social media. Go to YouTube. Investigate and just do some research before making that decision if you want to buy the game, right? Back then, I remember one day I went to a store, and this is in Dyckman in New York City, Uptown, Washington Heights, Inwood area. I went to the store and I'm like, oh man, they have the Back to the Future game for the NES. Oh man, this is probably going to be incredible. Bro, I bought that game. I think it was like $70 at that time. I bought it. Didn't do no research or anything as a kid. I'm like, I'm ready to play some Nintendo games. Bro, that game was terrible. Terrible. I wasted, well, my parents wasted $70 on that without doing research or anything, because back then it was hard for us to find out if a game is good or not, because we had to wait once a month. There was a couple new magazines, like their new issues. There was no internet. There was nothing like that back then, But now, within minutes, we could just go online and do research on any game. Doesn't matter how small, how big it is. We still will find information about it, So, yeah, but that was, I think that was like the worst thing for me. And also, I'll give you another story. I went to Blockbuster Video, and at that time, you could also rent games, right? So I went and I saw the cover of Superman 64. And I was like, yo, this game is going to be amazing. Yo, Superman 3D. What? Yo, I not bought the game. I rented the game. Took it home. Within minutes, I'm like, I made a mistake. From within minutes, I was like, I think I made a really big mistake on renting this game. There's no, that's it. Like, it's done. I'm just going to deal with it. And I forced myself to to play it. I just didn't really enjoy it, man. And I started being more picky on what games I should rent. Like, I also will look at the back of a cover of a game. Do you remember the way how GamePro used to review the games back then? If I see a graphic that says 5.0, 5.0, 5.0, like this, I think it was like a red review means like the game is really, really good. That's when I'm like, I'm going to rent this game. This game is, because right there, it's easier for me to do some research. The information is there, you know what I'm saying? So,
right.
I know we changed the topic, but I just want to mention that real quick. And it was fun back then. Like, back then it was like, how I say this? It was like a risk.
It was renting a game much more risky. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like,
now it's a lot easier.
It was either going based on a magazine, or you and your friends were like, all right, I'll buy the game this month, and then you buy the game next month. Or it was just like, all right,
we'll trade.
Yeah.
We'll trade. Like
whoever in our friend circle was able to buy the game and then make the decision, or essentially be the guinea pig, because we couldn't wait for Nintendo Power or GameSpot magazine or what have you to come out with the review.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's wild, man. It's wild. So just wanted to say that if you guys agree, disagree with us, please send us an email, fanmail@gamertagradio.com, or give us a call, 786-273-7GTR. That's 786-273-7 GTR, and we'll put it on the show and everything. So, speaking about the old school classics, Pete, Sega, thanks to them, they sent me the SEGA Genesis Mini. Look at it right here. So somebody hit me up on Twitter. They were like, Danny, which one is your favorite SEGA Genesis model? I'll tell you which one is what was my favorite model, because there was different versions that came out. It was actually the one where it had like a little volume on the side. You could plug in your headphones, and you could also listen to the game using the headphones and everything there. That was my favorite one. But this one came out later. This design came out later for SEGA Genesis. I don't know if you remember this, Pete, or not. This design. So
that's
really
more
cool.
That's like the Model 2. That's closer to Model 2, right?
Yeah, I think it's Model 2. Yeah, this is when they started making different versions, making it smaller and also cheaper, because they wanted to compete with the Super NES back then. So yeah, it is very, very tiny, and it comes with a controller with 6 buttons, because remember, if you go way back for the SEGA Genesis, the original controller only had 3 buttons. But this one has 6. This came out later, and the reason why they had to release a controller like this, because games like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, games like that, you needed more buttons. So the Super NES, to me at that time, had the better controller, in my opinion. Like the LR buttons, the buttons on the side too, etc. So. But anyways, so yeah, this comes with 60 games. Some are unreleased games that only came out or never came out. Came out in Japan, and it's for the first time it's coming out here in the States. And they also added Sega CD games in there. So, like for example, Sonic CD is there. Final Fight CD. I don't know if you remember that. There was another game called Sewer Shark.
Yes.
That I was playing that. That was the first game I actually played, because I remember when I was playing that on the Sega CD back in the days. I finished the game, completely finished the game. The footage, cause they recorded this like at a studio, so you see like a movie in there, and then there's the actual game. You shoot creatures inside the sewers and everything like that, and that was a lot of fun. Yo, Pete, it's exactly how it used to be back then. There's like no high quality version, nothing. It's very pixelated. Like, it's very the quality looks like trash. I think it's like, oh my god, 1040.
It was 60, it was definitely
240p or one. I don't know. It's very
rough.
low. Like, it's rough.
Low res.
Low res. Yeah, but yeah. So they also added a bunch of Sega Genesis game. Family Star, Streets of Rage 3, which not my favorite Streets of Rage at all. That's like my least favorite out of all of them. But I also have Shinobi. They have like a bunch of games there, man. Highly recommend if you're a huge fan of Sega Genesis. I know it's been kind of hard to find this system online, because it's been selling out every time a store has it. So it was like that with when the NES Classic and the Super NES Classic also came out during that time. It was really hard to find. So I know it just came out recently. Let me see if I find the list here, man. But what are your thoughts while I'm looking for the list here? Because I have the box somewhere. I just don't want to get up.
I mean, I will admit I am not the most retro console player, but I do remember vivid memories of games from that era. I mean, you're talking NHL 94, which me and my cousin probably put that game down into the earth with as much time as we spent on that. Contra Hardcore, Streets of Rage, like you mentioned, Shinobi, Sonic the Hedgehog, of course. Sonic
Echo the
3
Dolphin,
Knuckles, Fantasy Star 4, I think was on the Genesis.
Which one?
Fantasy Star 4.
Yes, yeah. This was actually Fantasy Star 2. It's actually Fantasy Star 2 that was in the Genesis. Earthworm Jim 2.
I was going to say Earthworm Jim for me was probably that and Altered Beast. Those two titles were some of the biggest or most memorable for me, because I remember like the hype for me was so much that I would, God bless my mother in heaven right now, but she would she went and got me the Super Nintendo. She got me the game, and they would go to my parents would go to sleep, and I would sneak into the room where they hid the presents, and I would unwrap them and connect them to the TV and play them. So I nearly beat Altered Beast before Christmas launched, or before Christmas Day, and I had to act surprised that you guys got beat Altered Beast. But it was such a memorable time for games because like you said earlier, and we've said in previous shows, just we didn't have to worry about the Twitter or the Twitches and or YouTubes to spoil these opportunities for us, or to give us an opportunity to decide, do I want to play or do I want to buy this game? No, it was we had zero clue walking. It was a totally blind experience.
But
yeah, I mean, I'm curious. So can you load games beyond that, or you only get what you have in the device?
Well, it's whatever is already there installed in the device. But of course, there's going to be people that are going to figure out a way how to add more stuff there. Like I know I seen people added more games on the NES Classic and also the Super NES Classic. So I'm not going to do that. I don't like messing around with products like that, So I prefer whatever comes inside the product. I stay with that and I just enjoy it. I just don't want to mess around with it. You know what I'm saying? So, but another thing you could do is you could turn the quality of the video into like how it used to be back then with your TVs, your old TVs. I prefer not to do that, but I start like I can't see well, like because I'm so used to HD 4K quality.
Right.
I'm so used to that right now. You know what I'm saying? And you could also change the sound like how it used to be on those old TVs. It's like a lower quality, still the same sound, but just sounds different. Or just keep it high quality version of now, So there's not that many options in there. The only thing you could also do is make it, and happens a lot with like the older games where you could make it full screen or just have the regular version from how it used to be back then, still high quality, but on the side it will have like the graphics of, let's say, Sonic or Sega, whatever images is there, So I keep it like that. Certain games, I think it makes sense to put it full quality. So one of the games I started playing, because I don't remember playing this. You tell me if you did back then, but Final Fight CD, I don't remember that back then. I remember Final Fight, but could I play that in the arcade, Super NES? But Final Fight CD, it's kind of the same game, kind of. I think I'm not quite sure, but just the music, it's a higher quality. So that was the thing that I love about Sega CD is you still play the 16-bit games, but like the quality, the voice actors in there, it's like it sounds way better than just typically playing a game from like a cartridge and everything.
Yeah, I'm looking at it on the website, and Strider. That was another game that I loved playing on the
Strider. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You also had other games like Ghouls and Ghosts. You had Toe Jam and Earl. I mean, you had a lot of legendary games. Shining Force. Yeah, man. Yeah, a lot of memories.
Yeah, but I tell you this, like I remember playing the Sega CD games, like playing Super Shark. Like the game is not that great, right? But it was special to me because back then playing it, I'm like, yo, games can get better than this. Look at the graphic, like it looks real, like back then, So they also have a Night Trap in there too. Not a great game at all, but it was different back then, So I'm glad that I have the device. I know people are going to be asking, Lanny, is it worth it to buy this? I personally, for me, it is worth it, especially if you collect a lot of the retro games. And this is part of history. I think there's a lot of people that probably missed opportunity to play these games when they came out back in the early 90s or mid 90s. And this is the opportunity to just buy it, try it out. It only comes with one controller, by the way. So if you want to play another controller, it only comes with one.
Really, the website says it launches with 2 classic 3-button control pads.
Not mine. Mine only came with one.
Huh? Hey, you got gypped.
Mine came out only with one controller. I mean, you could see if you have the other controller, you could connect it here. It's a USB controller, just connect it and you could just play it, Now, I haven't tried out if this works with any controller. I'm going to try that out later. I'm going to try that out to see if it works. Because it's 6 buttons, you could easily figure it out.
Yeah.
So. But
I'm curious, maybe, is it the same one? It's the SEGA Genesis Mini.
SEGA Genesis 2. SEGA Genesis Mini 2. That's why you were reading a totally different list.
Gotcha.
SEGA Genesis Mini 2.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because I was like, Final Fantasy, you would say Phantasy Star 4. I'm like, no, it's
no, I'm saying Phantasy Star 2, Phantasy Star 4 launched for the Genesis. That's what I was going for.
Okay. I thought you meant, because there was another SEGA Genesis Mini that came out before this one, but this one, it's a better quality, better games, better at everything. So, yeah. But yeah, highly recommend it. Go. Wow, that sounded really loud. Boop. I picked up. For those who are listening, highly recommend to get the SEGA Genesis Mini. I know it's really, really hard to get right now because every time I go on to the website, it says sold out. So good luck. Hopefully you guys can find it. Please let me know if you purchased the console, and I'm curious to see, what games are people going to be playing again and everything, man, but yeah, it's exciting. And I'm glad they started adding some Sega CD games in there, man, because it was easier for us to play the Sega Genesis games still now to this day, right? But it sounded like Sega CD just disappeared, and I'm glad that they're adding in there, man.
Afterburner 2. Wow.
Yeah.
Golden
Virtual Racing. Oh my God, remember that? Virtual Racing?
Outrunners. Oof. Wow. Yeah. A lot of legendary titles on this.
Yeah. A lot of games. Actually, Echo the Dolphin. I was never a fan of Echo the Dolphin, but people seems to like it, I guess. It's 2 Sega CD games from that. 2 Sega CD Echo the Dolphin game.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, I just want to say that very quick. Anything else, Pete, from this?
No, that's it. I think we're good.
That's it. All right. I think we should do voice fan mail before we wrap it up.
Let's do it.
All right. I sent you some voicemails and also questions from Discord. If you want to read, whatever, it's fine with me.
Okay.
I'm gonna play some voicemails here, guys. Give me 1 second, and then we'll do fan mail here. All right, and it's time for fan mail.
Fan mail at gamertagradio.com.
All right, so we're gonna go with the first question here. Question or feedback? I don't remember. I just put it. So here it goes.
Hey guys, this is Adam from Casper, Wyoming. I just want to give a shout out to Danny and all his work. Sorry to hear about the situation with the G4 TV. Curious question I have for you though is, do you have the opportunity to use any of maybe your future interviews that you may have had on there as a way of being able to bring them to Gamertag Radio? Anyways, best of luck to you, and hopefully, well, not hopefully, knowing your talent and the things that you've talked about, you'll definitely have success. Good luck out there. From a fan, I've been listening for a few years now. Take care. Bye.
All right, man. Thank you so much for the question. And I've been getting a lot of these type of questions of people asking, "Hey, Danny, I know you guys have like some unreleased content. Are you planning to put it up on Gamertag Radio?" I'm still trying to figure out. Like, I just can't just like, "Hey, let me just post it." I have to talk to the right people to see if it's possible, because there's some that has never been released, hasn't been on YouTube or anywhere else. We just recorded it, and I just got to figure out. But I know that one of the things, and here's the thing that a lot of people don't know about this, but one of the main reasons why I got hired to work at G4 is because I'm very connected with a lot of people in the game industry for opportunities for like interviews, stuff like that, right? So I know that I was in the process of working a couple things for X-Play. One of them was I was planning to have Sonic Team to come to the studio to talk about Sonic Frontiers. We also recorded some stuff with Ophonic Ghostbusters. That never came out. The week that the game got released. We also had the composer of Starfield. He was over there, which I got him to the studio, and he talked about his career and everything. And there was a lot that he talked about Starfield, about how he started working on the soundtrack of the game and stuff like that. There was like a lot of other stuff that I was planning to. Oh, Cliffy B, his new book is coming out next month in November. He was actually, we did an interview to promote his book. I was planning to release it like November 1st or so, around there. Actually, next week I was planning to release it. But all that stuff basically disappeared because of the situation that happened. The studio got shut down. So, but now that I'm not working over there, I can focus a lot more with bringing more content to GTR, and I have a couple surprises, which hopefully, if it goes through, I could tell you how everything happened, because this is for GTR, and there's a couple other things too that I potentially, if everything goes through and it gets approved, then we'll have it over here, man. So my goal is to continue having great conversation with P in Paris. But when it comes to like interviews and special opportunities, I definitely want to push that more to the podcast again, so stay tuned for that, man. Stay tuned. Anything else, Pete, from that, or are you really good?
I really don't have anything on that. I mean, that's something for, that only you and the former people at G4 to decide.
Yeah, sure.
Considering it was part of your work, I would hope that, considering all things considered with how people were let go, or how you guys found out, that maybe they'll just give that to you as just a going away present of sorts. But
yeah,
as we've said in chat, in private conversation, definitely leverage the opportunity that you had to do that while you're during your time at G4, and leverage those existing relationships or those existing work to boost and to boost yourself up and continue down your path.
No, definitely,
absolutely.
Definitely. You'd be surprised how many people hit me up like after the news went out, and I was telling everybody, replying back like, "Look, thank you for reaching out. I'm gonna be okay. I just gotta keep on doing my thing, But I just feel that the other people that are behind the scenes, from production, camera, makeup, producers, showrunners, like those are the people that I really want to help as much as possible to, for them to also get opportunities, because man, they're so talented, man. So, but I highly recommend, for those that don't know, listen to the previous episode of Gamertag Radio and just listen to that episode. It's very special to me. And number two, it was a lot of great conversation there about the behind the scenes, how everything went down, like the good side of creating content for X-Play and just G4 in general. So check it out whenever you get the chance. Pete, you want to read one of the questions from Discord? It's in the email.
Yep. All right. First one is from Mike H. Hey, GTR, we've seen literally billions of dollars changing hands in acquisitions over the last few years. Wouldn't it be cheaper to target specific IP and individuals rather than scooping up conglomerates en masse? Imagine if Microsoft made Neil Druckmann an unimaginably huge offer to join the family to start a new studio and IP, similarly with the likes of Kojima or Miyazaki. The savings made on buying entire companies would enable them to make offers they can't refuse and with money to spare to build a team of their choosing. With that said, I wish Microsoft would offer EA a few mil for the Mass Effect IP and put Casey Hudson back at the helm. I think that's a business. So, for me, I just think that's a poor business. Oftentimes, companies will hold some kind of a personal value that they specifically put onto an IP and assume that that is the final price or final negotiating cost for some things. And oftentimes it's cheaper in the long run to purchase the entire company based on its valuation versus what a specific company would put its its IP's worth at. You can somewhat look at it similar to purchasing real estate. And this is something that I've seen personally in previous employments, where it was cheaper to purchase the company that owned the deed to a home than to purchase the home outright. Mm-hmm. So you have to, it's more of a business strategy. You have to consider that Neil Druckmann, while yes, he's been at Naughty Dog, he basically has free reign to do whatever he wants, especially when it has, especially as it pertains to the specific titles that he is behind. It's not a matter of just throwing a checkbook at Neil and assuming that he would just accept it, regardless of the fact and the history behind what he and Naughty Dog and Sony have been doing over the past 15 plus 20 years almost, right? So it's not as simple as, okay, we're just going to assume that I'm going to write dude a check and he's just going to ignore the history that he's had with that. Same goes with Kojima and Miyazaki. You can't just assume that bringing them over from a competing platform is going to work, right? There might be things that may not be possible. He may not, just because we'll use Miyazaki. You could pull. Let's say Neil, or let's say Phil Spencer comes out with the checkbook, right? Nadella says, "Go for it." The book is open, right? And goes to Miyazaki and drops $100 million check on him and says, "Come join Microsoft." That's not going to guarantee success. Just because you bring him over does not guarantee success. And that same goes for Kojima, and goes for Druckmann, or goes for any of the other amazing writers that we have in this industry. Just bringing one person over won't automatically guarantee success. And when we'll start to see that? In the next 2 or 3 years. When all of these acquisitions from Microsoft start to actually release these next-gen titles for which they were purchased for. So we're going to see Senua's Sacrifice. That's going to be, one of those first games that really tell the tale about these acquisitions. Starfield, I don't know if it's truly going to be that next-gen Microsoft Bethesda title, because it's been in development for so long already, right? It's not like they acquired them and threw money at it. It's all these other developers and companies that were acquired. Let's see then in the next 2 or 3 years, all these other ones. Let's see if the Microsoft dollar, let's see if the Microsoft checkbook really does translate. And essentially that's, if you look at it, that's what Mike is really talking about. Let's see if that is what really translates into, success as it pertains to, sales and or just essentially hype, right? Hype and moments, right? Does it translate?
Yeah, because I know if you go way back, when Microsoft acquired the studio that made Minecraft, Microsoft didn't just bought just the IP. They completely bought the studio, Mojang.
All of Mojang, yep.
It was a lot easier business-wise to work on that. And you have all the developers that worked on that. You have everything, and plus the game. I think it's better business-wise to do that instead of just buying the IP, like what the person was saying, you know? So, like with Activision, think about this. Microsoft, it looks like it's going to go through with Activision being part of Microsoft Game Studios. And now, because of that, they could also release old IPs that hasn't been around in years. So, like for example, Pitfall, that was a game that came out for the Atari 2600. That's an Activision game. So Microsoft could turn Pitfall into like Tomb Raider, Uncharted of now, using that IP from back then. There's a lot of IPs that hasn't been around at all. It's been years since we've seen that, and it's easier for Microsoft to bring that back. For example, this is a what if, let me dream situation right here, Pete.
Jesus, here we go.
Do you remember the racing game? Do you remember the racing game that we were so hooked that
Pure?
Which one?
Was it Pure?
I don't know if it was Pure. It's Bizarre Creations developed on this one. I think it's a very short word. It starts with a B, I think.
Blur. I was close.
Blur.
Pure Blur, whatever.
Yeah, Blur. Yo, imagine Microsoft bringing that back.
I would love it.
Blur was amazing. That was one of my favorite racing games, man, but back then, you know. So we actually played the beta more than anything else.
Yeah.
And Activision sent me like 100-something codes. Yo, we gave it to everybody from the community from GTR. Like, yo, let's play this game, man. So,
and GTR game nights were amazing.
That was amazing. Yo, we will get together and just play Blur the whole time. It was amazing. So,
hours of it.
Yeah, so that's a good thing about, you know, Microsoft acquiring Activision. There's so many games that never really got a chance back then, and they could bring it back and just test the waters. And plus, with Xbox Game Pass, there's more games that developers could take a risk to see if they could create this and release it on the subscription service, and it could be a hit. So, for example, Grounded was an experiment for Obsidian, and look how it is now.
Yep.
You know, so yeah, just want to say that. We have another question. This is from John Wiki. He says, with so many games coming out this spring, what do you anticipate are your week one plays, and which ones get put in the backlog for you all? All right. So for me, let me go first, Pete. One of the first games that I personally think I'm going to play first is Redfall. I love horror games. I love games like Left 4 Dead, Back 4 Blood. I love that. I could see this game a way where I could finish it first than a game like Starfield. Starfield is a game that one I want to take my time. I don't want to like rush it or anything like that. But with Redfall, I can just play, done. Once I'm finished it, I could go to the next one. So I think I'll play Redfall first, then Starfield, in my opinion, because Starfield is a longer game for me, and that one's going to take a long, long time for me to finish. So what about you, Pete?
Does Redfall have a release date? Or is that just 2023?
I think it's like early 2023. That's the last thing I heard. Was that
his question is coming this spring? So you figure Q1?
Yeah, Redfall is coming out in Q1.
Is it?
That's last time I heard. Okay, originally that game was supposed to come out last year, and it got delayed.
Right.
So
and there's no date.
Like,
it just says 2023 everywhere. So that's why I'm
think
like,
this is my theory, and this is me guessing. I think that game is going to come out first, early spring, and Starfield, let's say between May or June of next year is going to come out, because still technically spring during that time.
Okay.
Yep.
For me, I think first and foremost, off rip.
Okay.
Dead Space remake. There is no other question.
Yeah.
There's no other comment. January 27th, me and Isaac,
That's a good.
we're gonna rip Ish up. Facts.
Oh, damn.
That's how
All
it
right.
is. That's all it's going to be.
Okay.
Beyond that, Skull and Bones, I think it's been on the table for long enough. Me, you, and Paris have played enough builds of that over the years.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Super exciting. I can't wait. Same team that did Black Flag, and we know how well they did, with Assassin's Creed Black Flag and that whole naval ship. That it was it, right? Beyond that, Forspoken looks kind of cool. That's from Square Enix and Luminous. That's coming out just before the Dead Space remakes. That might be a nice little wake up. Doesn't Alan Wake 2 come out 2023?
Alan Wake. Okay, so with Alan Wake, I think that one's coming out the end of 2023. So I know during this past summer, we were supposed to learn more about the game. Most likely, we probably hear more during the Game Awards. Maybe a date, who knows? But I know, and this, we're breaking the fourth wall. Like we're here, doing this live on Twitch, and one of our viewers says both Redfall and Starfield haven't announced which game will be released first. Now, here's the thing for those that don't know about marketing: when you see a game that been showing gameplay, lots of gameplay, and now they've recently released another gameplay video, most likely that game is going to come out first than anything else. So to me, Redfall is going to come out sometime early 2023, spring of 2023. Starfield, because that's going to be a very anticipated game that everybody's waiting for, I think that's going to come out last of like the big titles. Towards almost the end of spring of 2023, right before E3. If you think about it, even bigger games that came out from Bethesda, even taking it back from the Xbox 360 era, Oblivion came out. No, not Oblivion. Skyrim came out towards the end of spring 2023. Redfall, I could see that early 2023. I could definitely see that. That game was supposed to come out last year, and it got delayed. Same thing with Starfield. So originally, Redfall was going to come out summer of 2022, this year, and then Starfield 2022, the end, like around November, right? And it got delayed. So think about that. If it was like that with those release dates, it's going to be the same exact thing for 2023.
I think I'm gonna throw it out there. I think we see Starfield in that post, E3 area time frame, the post summer, like that little Dead Space time. And I don't mean that as a pun in any way. that dead area between July and September. I think Bethesda launches it there simply because it's easier for them to launch a title at that point that doesn't compete with what is going to come out, which is Call of Duty and Battlefield. It doesn't have to compete with anybody. It sits in its own space during a time frame where the industry is kind of like itching and clamoring for that attention and hype. So I think it launches just after. I think it's going to be one of those, you see Todd Howard on stage and it'll be available to launch next week, something like that. So,
I won't go that far. I think I'll do this. It
just works.
If you remember, The Last of Us Part 1 came out exactly the week, like I think a week or the week before E3. If you go back, look at the dates. Go to Wikipedia, check out the dates. If you think about it, it is a perfect time to release that. And the reason is this, from the consumer. I'm not saying this is like because of financial. I know there's stocks and all this investments and all that stuff. It has nothing to do with this. As a fan, when you release a game like that big, release it right before E3, Then you have E3 where you're going to have a presentation of all the games coming up in the future, and you have some bangers. It just looks good for the company overall because it's like back to back, getting great reviews, great content. Now there has been released in the spring, and now you have your presentation. Now people are getting ready to even be more hyped for the holiday season. That's my theory why it makes sense for a game like Starfield to release during that time. You know what I'm saying? So it was supposed to come out November. It was supposed to come out this November, and it's not coming out. Not coming out.
You know what? But a game that's got that much anticipation and hype behind it. Similar, we just saw it a year ago with Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
So much hype behind it. I don't, why launch it the first quarter to take advantage? I say you take your time with it. Let that marinate. Yes. Cook that, drop the heat by, 30, 40, 50 degrees. Let that slow simmer and marinate in the oven.
Yeah.
Let that cook. Let that cook.
All right, Con, you hear that, Con? That is messing around. We have one more. We have one more question. Then we there you go. We'll wrap it up. Let me play that right here. Here it goes.
Hi, Danny. My name is Rafael. I am too a Dominican. It's been a couple rough days for me. My life has not been perfect, but honestly, watching all the content you guys showed in G4 TV has been so much comforting for me, and it was a sad day when I saw that the channel ended. And thanks for G4 TV, I discovered you. Being a Dominican in this industry, I understand not even Dominican and Latino is hard, and you have done such an impact. You're an inspiring person for us Latinos and Dominicans. Me personally, as a video game enthusiast, I love video games. All the work that I've seen that you've done in the past have been a lot of inspiring. So I don't know if you will hear this or this will impact with you. So I just want to say, keep up the good work. Keep being an inspiration. I did see that you came to Dominican Republic. You offered a lot of events. I will keep in touch with your Twitter if one day you come to DR, and I will be in one of those events. Thank you so much for everything you do, man, and keep up the good work. You're an awesome human being, an awesome person, and an awesome Dominican man. From the bottom of my heart, man. Keep it up.
Hey, that was thank you for the voice message, man. I had a great time working at G4, working with the team at XPlay. Honestly, it was a dream job, one of the best jobs I ever had. It was so much fun. Everything, man, with that. I've been doing content way before G4. You know what I'm saying? And I'm still gonna be doing this with GTR, with Pete and with Paris. It's not gonna stop me anytime soon. I'm having fun with it, and I've been doing as much as I can to give back to the community and to help out, especially for those that the next generation that want to get into like the industry and everything like that, man. So I'm still gonna continue doing my thing over here. It's not gonna stop me at all, And I mentioned this a couple of times already. I became a better content creator because of people that I've been hanging out with, working with in my life, and also because of my wife, having Pete and Paris in my life too. It's been helping me to become a better content creator. And my goal is to continue and give back as much as I can. If I ever go to Dominican Republic or anywhere around the world, I'm definitely going to go all in and help out as much as I can, man, because I think it's very important. When I started, I didn't have no mentor. I had to figure everything out on my own. But now that we're in, Pete, you tell me right, now that we're in, why not help out as much as we can, man? So I'm going to give you one example of something that I did the other day. I didn't really talk about this publicly that much. So I had a speaking engagement with Amazon Games, and they wanted me to talk about my journey, my career. I talked to the whole team of Amazon Games, and we had a great conversation, great Q&A. I also talked to them about the book and everything like that. And one of the things that they asked me, like, Danny, we would like to also donate to a charity of your choice. If there's any organizations that you would like for us to donate. And I told them to donate to Latinx and Games. You know, they've been really focusing on helping developers from not only in the United States, but also all across Latin America to not only promote and help their games, but also giving them more resources to also get opportunities to work over here in the States of like with different companies, etc. So I think it felt right for me to also help out as much as I can to get a company like Amazon to donate and everything like that, man. So, you know, I think that's important. But we all in this together, and we also have to help out as much as we can, man. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, just want to say that very quick. And thank you for the voicemail. Pete, you want to say anything else? I know Paris been helping out with this one behind the scenes. He's been doing his own thing too, trying to help out the next generation. But you want to say anything else before we wrap it up?
At the end of the day, the only way we are able to lift up our generations, our people, our et cetera, is by extending a hand and using our experience to help anyone and everyone out in our industry, right? Whether it's the person that's just starting off and starting up with a YouTube channel or a Twitch channel, or you know, whether it's, you know, disenfranchised people, in whether it's, you know, whether it's, you know, not to disparage a specific country or anything, just whether it's, you know, reaching out a hand to our, you know, a developer in Cuba, or, you know, an aspiring youth in the Dominican Republic. The only way we can really truly measure our success is by making sure that we can help those less fortunate, and using our experience and our time in this industry to uplift and make it a better industry. We're still a very, you know, if you think about it, the industry we're in games, comparison to other industries, it's still very, very young, very, very immature to a point, right? And so using the experience we've gained, whether it's been directly affiliated to being in the gaming, or whether, you know, I can use my leverage, or if I can leverage my experience in business or operations or IT to improve it, I will do what I can. Absolutely. And therefore, you know, same goes for you and for, you know, for Paris and anybody else, you know, our friends and compatriots in this industry. That's our responsibility, right? I mean, we help build and support and uplift this industry to be where it is. And I don't care about the ones that, you know, go for the quick clicks and they don't care about the industry because they're just looking at it for right now. But, you know, it's our responsibility in a sense to do better, be better, whether it's be better podcasters, be better content creators, be better, you know, supporters of friends or others in the industry. You know, that we need to be better about, you know, supporting those that are in content creation, you know, applauding them for not just their work, but just the effort behind it, because, you know, we all see the work, you know, that we all know the work that we have to put in to put up a podcast, to put up a show on, you know, on Twitch or on a G4 channel or wherever. But the people on the other side of the screen or the other side of the headphones only see the finished product. They don't see the time and effort that it takes to get to that, whether it's, you know, like us, 15 plus, 20 plus years doing this on a day-to-day basis. You know, they only see, you know, the thumbnail or, you know, the Twitch or Twitter post. So I think we all as content creators need to just get better about everything that we do and help support everybody within the industry, regardless of whether you agree or disagree with what they do or how they do it.
Yeah.
I'll get off the soapbox now.
It's all good. All right, so we're going to wrap it up here. Thanks everyone for listening and also watching the latest episode here at Gamertag Radio, which is 1230, not 12,000.
Yeah. My accountant would like to have a word with you, okay?
Yeah. 1,200. So it's 1,230. 1,230 episodes. Insanity. Crazy. I can't believe it. All right, everyone. Thank you for listening. Remember, go right now and search for us on any podcast app. Gamertag Radio. Follow us. Subscribe. Post your review. Post a review. Super, super important. It will help us to get the word out there. And also new people will discover us because of your activity. So do that right now. Also, if you'd like to be part of our fan mail discussion for the next episode of GTR, here's how you could contact us.
Send us your feedback or questions. Give us a call at 786-273-7GTR. Email us at fanmail@gamertagradio.com or leave a message on speakpipe.com/gamertagradio.
All right, everyone, we're going to wrap it up here. Until next time, we're out. Peace.
Thanks for listening to Gamertag Radio. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.